600 days. That is how long it has been since my last video in this world. Surely I must have something to show for it. Well, I do have a little something. Where have I been? Well, for about 200 days, I demolished a mountain. You see this space right here? There used to be a mountain here. Yeah, that's no longer with us. I also spent probably another 50 days trying to build up a mountain in this area to, replace the one that I just tore down. And I didn't like it. We'll probably tackle that project again in the future, but for now, we're just gonna leave it blank. For another 100 days, I was kinda semi-AFK for eggs. Like chicken eggs. You see, I needed a ton of wither roses, and there's not really any other good way to get them without building a wither trap and having an enderman farm in the end, or doing some crazy doohickey mumbo jumbo stuff. So I did it the way that my builder brain could comprehend, and I farmed up thousands upon thousands of chickens for this little beauty. Yeah. I finished the wither skeleton farm, but it took a ton of wither roses, and so I had to spend a ton of time AFKing for those eggs. But now, it's super fast, and we probably don't ever need to farm wither skeleton skulls again. Because also in my time away from recording, I farmed a little bit. And believe it or not, this is only a couple of hours, maybe, of AFKing. Because this system that I contrived is not fast enough to process all of the items and all of the rates from this farm. Do you see how fast these guys are spawning in? And it's not even fully optimized yet. So another thing that we're going to have to do eventually is move this platform down a couple of blocks, I believe probably 8 blocks down, because this blue area that you're seeing here is actually incapable of spawning wither skeletons, but we are still incredibly fast. This little area of inefficiency doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this farm is just way too fast. And any more than like 15 minutes, then items start to pile up here, and it, just removes the items. It deletes them. So this farm is way too fast for the system that we have, and we're going to eventually have to fix that and make it a little bit more efficient in the item sorter area. But there's an update coming out pretty soon that has nifty little automatic crafting things that I kind of want to attach to all of these. So we'll come back whenever the new update is out, and we'll see what we can do with that item sorter. So about another 100 days went into that wither skeleton project, finishing it up after already spending probably about 200 spawn proofing and building that first farm that we showed off in our world tour episode. And that's not even everything that I did in the nether. Because, yeah, I've been doing more. You see, for some reason, I just wasn't really in the mood to record any episodes. I felt like there was too much stuff piling up on my to-do list to make an episode out of. So I kind of just put my head down and started working on some things. And some things turned into other things, which turned into a lot more things. And now we are here, playing catch-up. For the keen-eyed viewers, you'll notice that there is no gold farm here. There was a ginormous gold farm here at one point, and that is gone. You see, I want to have a looting-based gold farm, and again, with the auto-crafters coming out, I want to incorporate some kind of a piglin bartering system into an AFK-able looting-based gold farm that we're going to have in the future once that update comes out. Another small little thing, we did actually collect all of our frogs up here on the nether roof for whenever we do want to create a frog light farm. Another little thing that probably took a couple of days. Now, since we got the wither skeleton farm under control, we also got a handful of beacons. We're probably going to use those for decorations at some point around the city area, which is our next stop. So for about another 100 days, I worked on this project, and another one here that I'm going to show you in a second. But we basically went through and planned and organized and redrew lines and did a little terraforming and basically just laid out all of our plans for the next however many hundreds of days it's going to take us to complete this project. For those of you new to the channel, I wanted to turn this entire area into a town similar to probably Aquatown, if you're familiar with that from Hermitcraft. But something I'm going to do myself, trying to incorporate a bunch of different farms, a bunch of different shops in here, and create just a very lively city. And so I've been working on planning some 3-dimensional plans, then some 2-dimensional plans over here with all these colored concretes. And we also have the occasional signpost of what we're going to be putting in these boxes. I don't quite remember if we had this shown off in another episode, but we'll go ahead and take an aerial look at it so you guys can kind of see how the outlines kind of came together. We have a couple of roads that form along here, It kind of cuts off abruptly in this area because I don't really want to commit too heavily to anything before we actually finish all of these buildings and then decide what to do with our terraforming. But we do have a lot of things planned out right now. I have a lot of fun ideas for some of these buildings, a lot of creative things that I want to practice. And you'll notice this area gets not as colorful as over here because this is what I worked on most recently. We're going to be doing this in an upcoming episode, transforming all of these outlines that I have here into a busy, bustling city block built off of the back of our pixel art plaza. And you'll also notice that we have our Redstone Shop. This is the thing that we're going to be focusing on either today or in the next episode. I haven't really decided yet, but this is the build that we are doing next, no matter what, which I'm really excited for. This should round out the rest of Pixel Art Plaza. We'll have the Iron Golem head, the sheep head, and the redstone block. We might also put another pixel art on this building. We'll see how that turns out, but for now, Pixel Art Plaza is just one step away from being completed, and that makes me super happy. And we also have a few things back here that I want to work on soon. I want to create sort of a basalt factory in this area. Not that I need basalt currently, but if we are going to be doing a bunch of town stuff, I want to have the availability of as many resources as I can. So yeah, these projects, these outlines took quite a bit of time, but no more than 150 days. I only spent about a week trying to do all this town stuff in between everything else going on in my life. But we also worked on this in that time span. And this is, well, this is redone, but this is kind of the focus of what we spent our time on. This used to be a library. I'll try and throw some older pictures up on the screen so you guys can understand what it looked like versus what it looks like now. And this, we reworked it a good bit, but we tried to keep the main theme of what we did with the original build. Kind of like how we did the Hall of Trophies, how we redid that terraforming. We redid this older build and we brought it up to our current standards and we refurbished it with the ideas that we had in the first place. I think it's kind of fitting too because I redid it about a year after I built it and the progress that we made in that time is just incredible. I think it looks so much better. The reason I had so many issues with it before is because it just looked way too busy, I think, in my mind. And now we cleaned it up. We made it look a lot better. In a way, it kind of like matured the build. And I think it looks a lot better for that. But we did keep, again, the general idea, the main theme of the build. And it just looks better in general. We had plans to just redo the interior, but I kind of caved and did the whole thing instead. So now we have a new interior called the Book Nook. And this is a bookshop where we are storing all of our enchanted books. You'll notice throughout all these barrels, we have a bunch of books here and there. Lots of different things kind of organized in specific areas. And just giving us a lot of storage space for every book that we need in case we ever need some. With this build, I tried to play around with some armor stands and make some cool decorations. I don't really know how I feel about them. You can definitely tell how much of a novice I am. I just don't know if I will ever use them as heavily as I did in this build. We might do a couple of things like we did here, some flower pots, some stands, but I don't think we'll ever go super heavy with the armor stands. I don't know if I like them that much. We do have this little thing here is our enchanted book charter. This is kind of just a list of all of the books that we were able to get from our librarian villagers. These guys right here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the purpose that this build serves, but we did give it some kind of a purpose. And we also tried to incorporate a little bit of lore downstairs in the Book Nook reading den. So this little area is supposed to be a comfy, cozy space where you go, you purchase your books, you go downstairs, and you read. We have little bean bags here with the colorful wool. We have a nice comfy couch, a little armrest chair, and we also have the meeting room of the Writers Guild, signified by these two pieces of concrete. If we open the doors here, you'll come straight into the meeting room, the room of the Writers Guild. Now, the lore isn't completely developed for this room, but my idea is we have all of these empty books and quills. I think eventually over time, we're going to fill up little books and quills like we did with today's episode, kind of keeping track of what we're doing, keeping lists here and there. And when we're done with them, we're just going to put them in this room as kind of like a forever keepsake. And we'll be able to come back here and again and read some of what we've been up to. If we kind of forget what projects we've had in the world or what kind of lore we tried to build, we'll be able to have this space here that always holds this little piece of our world. Something really fun that I wanted to incorporate, and it also plays off a little bit of the graffiti that we did in our wool farm episode. So I added this piece of graffiti right here to this retaining wall, not really thinking much of it, but I kind of like the idea that it symbolizes a organization or something that you can join. kind of like an advertisement. So whenever I was redoing this area, I wanted to place another piece of graffiti right here. And I thought, wow, this could be something fun that we could play around with. And then it led to the idea of having a little writer's room down here. That's sort of a secret club that builds off of these two colors that we just randomly put in one of our episodes last. It's stuff like that with the little itty bitty things that you create just for the purpose of creating for yourself that I think just adds so much to your own world. And it adds a lot to our story without really doing much. So I really enjoyed adding that little piece of lore. But across this little catwalk bridge, we have our Sunny Day Cafe. This is kind of building into the idea of having a little bookshop cafe that you're kind of seeing nowadays. I feel like that's a trend that I see everywhere now. Um, yeah, we brought a lot of colors in, these pinks and purples, these really pastel colors, blues and reds, and we kind of mirrored it off of, I believe the Moo Pop Cafe kind of has this theming aesthetic. We didn't really have that much room to play around with here, so it's very simple, very basic, but the colors I think are really fun in this area. It kind of signifies it. It separates it from everything else in the area. We also played around again with the armor stands here, some of the micro blocks that we have, and these are supposed to be like the barista machines that make coffee. I don't really know why I came to this, but it sort of looks like something that could maybe make some coffee. I think it's good enough for me, and I hope it's good enough for you. Down here we have the area where we were farming our chickens. We have the storeroom for the cafe that is not detailed yet. We did have a chicken farm down here at one point to collect a bunch of eggs. But now it has been repurposed to nothing because the chickens are super laggy. This little area in between the two sides of the build, we tried to create a little calm, peaceful Zen garden. Someplace you could take your coffee cup, you could take your book that you just bought, come out here and enjoy nature. Enjoy seeing and smelling all the plant life about here and just have a nice, peaceful time. Around the other side of the build, we also have this patio that you can come out and relax on. We have some cups, some plates, napkins, everything just kind of cluttered out here because people don't know how to throw away their trash. But same deal on this side, you can enjoy the sunrise like we are about to right now. For the most part, I think that wraps up everything we've been doing. We also took out a potato field here because I actually want to put builds in here. Probably rip out a couple of the other fields. But other than that, really minor stuff that we've been working on. We have also contributed our fair share to global warming. You see, this is an ocean monument that was semi-buried by a glacier and right off the coast of a gigantic mushroom island. And I thought it'd be kind of a cool set piece to have a guardian farm in the midst of a glacier biome thingy. Whatever this biome is called. I thought the set piece was pretty cool. And it'd be really fun to have a guardian farm here. We do need prismarine, we do need dark prismarine, sea lanterns, all the fun stuff that you get from guardian farms. And maybe we'll also make a cool build out of it because the set piece is really nice. We just kind of have to build something to match the aesthetic. But yeah, I had to take apart this entire glacier here. It kind of went up to probably about this height here. It's a good sized glacier. And I think it's safe to say the world might be a little bit warmer now, but we're not going to think about that too hard. Ooh, also, while mining our mountain, we got a ton of resources that I couldn't throw away. I know we're not going to use them all, but I just don't want to leave them for nothing. So I converted this storeroom here into more of a deep storage area for our unlimited amount of stone. Basically, we don't need to mine stone ever again in our life because we have nearly 2.5 double chests full of shulker boxes of stone, and the same goes for our cobblestone, just a little bit less. We also moved all of our deep slate into deep storage, kind of freed up some room in our storage room, which is getting very, very packed at the moment. And we also have a bunch of dirt here that I just couldn't fit in our storage room. But doing this little project here made me want to renovate our copper field. And so I did. This can now hold about 6 stacks of copper, I believe at its max capacity. It used to be I believe on this floor, somewhere around here, just underneath a mountain, in a really inconvenient spot. But now it's got a perfect access from our stone storage room just right here. It is super, super pretty right now. We'll have to come back through here and make it a little bit prettier whenever we decide to. But for now, I'm kind of done with this project, and I probably don't need to age copper ever again. Because I'm excited for the new update, in case you couldn't tell, and I got a little over-prepared, I think one could say. I collected a full shulker box of copper blocks, And since that wasn't enough, I also collected a full shulker of age copper blocks because I am completely healthy, normal, natural person, and a completely normal, healthy, natural person would do that. Yeah. I also made a little 1.21 starter box for whenever the update comes out because, again, I'm just so excited for the new update. We have the ability to craft a stack of crafters. We have a bunch of tuff here for playing around with the new tuff blocks and a bunch of blaze rods for, I believe, the copper bulb. Yeah, that sounds right. But we are completely prepared for the new update, and I am just excited to play with it. I know it's still a couple months away, which is super unfortunate, but that's not going to stop me from being excited. I believe that puts us fully caught up with where I have been. If you have made it to this point in the episode, you're a real one, and I love you to death. We're going to try and have a little more of a natural cadence when it comes to survival episodes after today. We'll see how well we can stick to that. I have some big project ideas that I don't really have the time for, but we will see what we can get up to. I want to try and dial it back on the whole gigantic build per episode, doing whatnot, huge project, and just kind of try and stretch my legs as a Let's Play creator with this world at least, and less of trying to, view fish. And really, I just want to avoid another situation where I'm stuck feeling like I need to do big projects without being able to focus on the little things that are holding me back. So we're going to try and do that in the future. But for now, I think we're going to start detailing this build here. I've been wanting to work on this for a while. I just felt like I needed to get all that stuff off my chest before we were able to work on it. And it feels a little cathartic. I feel a little lighthearted now. We also, okay, so I guess I should go into the basics of what this shop is going to be. So obviously, you can see it's a redstone shop. The idea of this place is to have our cleric villagers. These guys, if you didn't know, trade redstone. All of them are up to the master trade, I believe. Yeah, they all should be up to their master trade. And this is going to be where we get all of our redstone products. So on top of being kind of the trading hall for the redstone, I also want this to serve as like a department store in a way, because I want to be able to come to this build and collect all of the redstone components that I need. So right now, everything redstone related we have in this box right here. But I want to have another box and another box and another box just ready to go with redstone components in this shop. I want it to be like a department store that I can come to, pick my products, pay down here at the cash register, and leave. Since I don't have any friends here, I kind of have to make my own shops and my own lore based on that. So that is kind of what we're doing here with this shop. And yes, it's also related to the 1.21 update with the crafter and everything like that. But right here, we're going to have kind of the show floor where we have all of our redstone components laid out here. We might also have a few boxes like we have in our shulker box. But we also don't use redstone that much, so I don't know how much we have to worry about that. And then up here, we're going to have more of like the deep storage area. Maybe we'll put some crafters up here. We'll see what we can fit here. But you'll kind of get the idea through what I was able to outline with stone, how this place is going to look. From the front, we're going to have some display windows, displaying some redstone components, some products like that. Through the front door, this is going to be the checkout counter. We might throw a villager in here. I haven't decided yet. If they did go in here, they probably wouldn't have a profession. And, we wouldn't trade with them really. We'll go up the stairs here to, like I said earlier, this is kind of be the show floor. We'll have a railing here and then products over on this far wall. And a nice big window to give us a lot of natural light because there's going to be builds on either side of them. And then again up here, I haven't really decided really on what we're doing up here, but I've got a few ideas. Mostly, I'm just excited to start working on this project because I've had this outlined for, I don't even want to say how long. It's been a while, and I've just been itching to go at it. So we're going to start building now. Okay, so I've gathered materials for some of the colors that I think I want to use. And we also built it already. I actually already filled it in, and I struggled a lot trying to find the right color combination, but we landed on this secret texture that you can get from mushroom stems and mushroom blocks, and it looks really good. It's a color you don't really see very often, and I felt like it fit here very well. It kind of blends in a little bit with these textures down here, but on this level of the city, I think it looks okay and it doesn't stick around or blend in with the other things around it too much. We did end up altering the design. We took out the diagonals on either side and just brought those faces outward, having the inside just a little bit pressed back. We did keep the giant window. We kept the two windows on the two sides, which initially I wanted these two areas to be like patios you could go out on, but we ended up just switching those for windows because having some patios wasn't really a department store type of thing that department stores usually have. We did alter these windows a little bit, made them a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to display some things on. We do have access from the inside for whatever we feel like putting in this area, which we need to do, need to figure out what we're going to put in those displays. And yeah, for the most part, the facade of the shop is completely done. We did also wrap around on this side here with the texturing, but we didn't go into too much details because I have plans for right here. We are going to have the Narrows apartments right here. And actually, it's all pre-packaged in these three shulker boxes. We're going to put some apartment buildings here, kind of just to cover up this face of the build, and also to incorporate some of this city layer down to this city layer, and just kind of give us another face on this edge of the build that isn't just completely flat. And yeah, it's also kind of an excuse to not have to detail the side of it. But if we want to build up an entire city, we're going to have a place for our citizens to sleep at night, places for them to live, and we got to start filling it out with some apartment buildings. So this is kind of a good excuse. It's a good placement, and it just works out very well. The back is not done because I also went and outlined this thing. I want to put some kind of a historic clock tower, some kind of a historic bridge that you might see in something like London. I think I've never actually been to Europe, but some kind of like older cities with lots of older buildings, they'll have these old builds that just had like bridges or walkways through the middle of them. And I think it'd be really fun to have a build right here that has a walkway that serves as like the entrance and exit into the main district of the city, with also a clock tower right up there. I think that'd be really cool. And I'm excited to see what we can get around to design wise. We will have to move some of our outlines here because they will get in the way of this build, but these outlines were really just for me to practice building and outlining in a way. I guess you could think of it like 3D sketching. This is really just mostly practice though, so we probably won't adhere to many of these outlines, but they are here in case we do want to work with them. But yeah, we'll have to move this. This build will probably get a little bit bigger than this outline is currently. And why are you all zombies? What happened? Okay, we're gonna have to figure this out later, I think. It shouldn't be too big a deal, but I don't understand how they could be zombies. This whole area is lit up. Anyway, okay, before we get into the apartments here, I want to give a light tour of the inside. It's not actually done yet, but this first floor is done. We moved this back a block. We finished detailing all of these little villager stalls, and up these stairs we have just walls and nothing else because I'm still not sold on my idea for this space. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be doing with this area. And I didn't want to force myself into designing something that I was just going to change up later. So we're just leaving this for now. We're going to go move on to something else and hopefully some inspiration will strike. But up at the very top of the stairs here, I laid out some room for some offices. Not sure if this will stay either. We might move back to the old idea of having like old storage up here and then this just being the floor room, the showroom, what have you. But yeah, again, I'm just not really sure and I don't really want to force it. But you get a nice view up here and it just felt like these should be offices of some kind. Okay, now that we're all caught up with this build, I think it's time that we start on another build. But first, I have a confession to make. Yep, I built a frog light farm. And actually, this was very recently. We've been storing frogs for a while. We had them on the top of our nether roof, and it was time. This design for the apartments, I decided to try and use frog lights for some lighting atmosphere that you'll see later. And it was just time for us to make a frog light farm. So I figured the two lined up, might as well just get it done. So I went on top of our nether roof and I built a frog light farm. It was pretty easy. I didn't really follow a tutorial because they're very basic. You just find a basalt delta, you get a bunch of powdered snow, you make sure gas can't spawn, and that's pretty much it. We did end up having to go and get more frogs because the rates of the farm were just a little too fast for our, I think, initial 12 frogs. So we doubled that number. We have 4 of each frog, and we're getting a lot of frog lights now, and definitely more than we needed for this build. So without further ado, we're going to start building, and I will see you guys after the time lapse. And there we go. Small little something. It isn't really much, but it is something. Not only were we able to get these apartments in and finished up, we also started work over here on a little staircase. This staircase is going to lead up to our eventual clock tower build and kind of serve as the main entryway into our city. Our main goal with this piece was to block up this flat wall, but we also started to encounter another problem where we have another wall that we need to block up with something. And I'm thinking this looks like the perfect spot to add some public works graffiti. Maybe not graffiti, maybe something more like a mural, but we're going to have to play around with it in a creative world and see if we can come up with any art designs. And I'd also like to open it up to you guys in the community. If you have any kind of pixel art you want me to put here, or if you kind of design something in your world, if you come into the Discord and send me a screenshot, I will work on it and I will try and get it to fit in this small space. Just so you know, the dimensions are about 7 by 10. And that covers up to about this spot. If you want to try and include something over here, you can do that as well. But we also have an identical face here that needs a little design. If we want to have the same design on both sides, we could do that too. But I think it'd be cool to have something slightly different on this side of the build. And they could also be something like advertisement-wise. It doesn't really have to be a mural or a picture or something pretty. If you guys have any ideas or suggestions, just drop them in the Discord or down in the comment section below. I would love to see what you guys think of those faces and what we could get up to. And so not only did we finish those narrows, we also finished the interior of our redstone shop. And actually, I guess first we should stop out here. These displays are finalized. I wanted to try and incorporate some kind of moving design into this space, but it was really just too small and I couldn't end up fitting any kind of machinery in here. So we included a couple of redstone components and a lot of the mini blocks that we have. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but a little bit of detail that adds a lot of fun to the front of the build. And this floor hasn't changed whatsoever. We still haven't done this area. I don't know if I'm going to do this area, but mostly the part that changed was up here. We finished our displays. And I know initially I said I wanted to have a few backup boxes, but I kind of changed my mind. I pivoted in a different direction, and we have little store areas for our different redstone components. And I tried to indicate what component is in what area with a lot of armor stands and some signs for items that we don't quite have yet. But every bit of this area is just covered in little redstone pieces and also areas to store them. We have a lot of stock of some stuff and a lot more of others. Like I said, I tried to play around a lot with the armor stands. This is also kind of like an armor stand combined with one of our resource packs, vanilla tweaks, and then the armor stand mod that kind of create this effect of having shelving units and then product laid out on the shelves. Something cool that I enjoyed putting together in this area, if we need just a stack of hoppers, we can just break this pot and get a stack of hoppers automatically. And then we can just refill it by having extra hoppers in that chest up there. Not that we'll ever really need that. It's just something fun to do that's more of an interactive display than just something that's static and we don't actually touch or, do anything with. On the other ones, I tried to demonstrate a little bit of what the components actually do, have some on, have some off, and you really can't do too much without the components interacting together. By themselves, they don't really do much. So it was really kind of hard. figuring out what to display and how to display it, but I think we did a pretty good job overall. And most of the chests are very easily interactable. So like these are here displayed with armor stands, but we're still able to click on them and it's not going to mess it up like we would if we had item frames. So I think that was pretty cool. And I look forward to using this. I'm not really a redstoner, so I'm probably not going to be here very often. But once the new update comes out, we get some of those new blocks. I'm pretty sure we're going to make it back to this room. And I also have some big redstone projects in mind. So we'll see if we get around to doing something like that. But for the time being, this is done. And you'll also notice that we took out the staircase in the middle here. And that is because we converted it into a little penthouse. Now, instead of having offices up here, I felt like it made more sense to just have some kind of a penthouse that overlooks the city in this direction and it's just something tucked away in the very top. Because downstairs, if we were to include the staircase up here, it just makes the build feel a little too crowded and not as open as I wanted it to. So we're switching this to a penthouse. We got a nice little staircase that comes out the back to eventually, I think another penthouse is going to be up here and then all the way down to this kind of main section of the city. I don't think we'll get up to adding any details to the tops of the roofs for any of these builds today because I am not really keen on building or detailing the tops of these builds. I just don't really know what to do. And I know there's a lot of stuff that I could look up online, but it's just not something I'm interested in doing right now. So this will remain blank. The penthouse we're going to leave for now. And I think that pretty much wraps up everything that we've done, everything that we've at least built. Oh, no, actually, I lied. We did add some smaller build details back here. So I wanted to work on the back of this iron factory for a very long time. And as you can see, we haven't quite gotten to that point yet. We still need to put in a crane and some carts and some other details. Goodness, I forgot about lighting this stuff up. It's kind of a dangerous time to do this. Anyway, so coming from the factory out here out back, we have a nice little like picnic area for all the workers that work in the factory. And I wanted to do something with this area. I wasn't really sure what to do. And then the idea kind of hit me. If you're working in a factory all day and all you see is iron, molting lava, whatever, and you're just in a stuffy building all day, when you eat lunch, are you going to want to eat lunch in that same stuffy building? I personally, I wouldn't want to do that. And so the idea came to me that why don't we have a little picnic area garden for the workers of the factory, somewhere that they can come out and they can sit in nature and breathe in all the plant life around them and just kind of enjoy some fresh air while they're also enjoying their meal. So that's what we did in this area. We tried to have some little flower planters, some little plants. It's not super detailed, but it adds a lot of life to this area. And it adds that little bit of lore that I've loved incorporating recently. And I'm very pleased with this area. It makes me super happy just looking at this little section that I know these workers probably value a lot. And that's not even the only small little detail garden we have. We also added another one right here. A very, very small garden, but kind of the same idea as that space up there. I didn't really know what to put in this corner, so I just put a garden. And we have some nice flowers. We're going to put a... Oh, whoops. We're going to put a tree here eventually, but for the most part, this area is done. We'll have the pathway wrap around it, so that way, whenever you're coming from the library or to the library, you always have a nice little view of this cute little garden. And we still need to finish the details out here. I think I'm going to put some merchant carts, maybe some like food carts, and we'll do another kind of picnic area with some seating for the public and whatnot. But that is not going to happen today because this episode is already super delayed. We will come back through here eventually and finish up the details in this area. And I think there's one more thing that I need to show you, and then I think we'll wrap up the episode. We finished this frog, not frog light. I know these are frog lights, but this is copper aging. I completely brain farted on that. I replaced all of the diorite with these verdant frog lights, and I think it'll match the aged copper very well. They're both kind of green in color. I guess one's more blue than green. But this is another step to getting this room finished. Eventually we'll come through here and we'll do something with the walls. I haven't really decided on what direction I want to take the walls, if we're just going to do one plain block, but it will look better eventually. And this is just one more step towards there. You know, this might be the most productive episode I have ever done. It took me a very long time to finish it, but we did get a ton of stuff done in this episode, and I was just awful about recording everything. So I do apologize for that. I hope you guys were still able to find some entertainment in it, though. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back into a better schedule for the survival series. We're kind of toning it back when it comes to the size of projects that we're doing, and we'll kind of approach it more as a Let's Play in the future. So if you're excited for that, I hope you stick around. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm sorry again that it took me so long to get out, but I really am excited to be back to producing content, and I look forward to what we get up to in the future. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, people of all ages, I really appreciate you being here today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.